Open it.
It's beautiful.
The first time I watched Fantasy Island, I was convinced that Mr. Roarke and Tattoo would become immortal icons of television. I can still vividly remember the pristine white seaplane touching down on the crystal blue water, Hervé Villechaize shouting enthusiastically, de plan beside the bell tower, and Ricardo Montalbán standing there, elegant in his white suit, wearing a mysterious smile as if he held every key to fate itself. But the deeper I dug into the show's behind-the-scenes history, the more I uncovered details so strange they were hard to believe. Did you know that the entire concept of this paradise island was actually born from a sarcastic, frustrated remark uttered in a moment of desperation? Or that the male lead almost went to a different Hollywood legend? Someone who might have turned the series into a production nightmare. And even more unexpectedly, behind the glittering image of Tattoo lay a trapped artistic soul, along with bitter, hidden struggles that ultimately contributed to the collapse of an enormously popular series. Let's take a closer look at 15 little-known facts, secrets of Fantasy Island that were kept under wraps for more than 4 decades. 15. A billion-dollar idea born from an offhand curse. Can you believe that one of the most powerful television empires of all time was not born from a carefully crafted master plan, but from pure frustration? Travel back to an ABC boardroom in the mid-1970s. Aaron Spelling and Leonard Goldberg, the two powerhouse producers, had just finished pitching 6 ideas they genuinely believed in. The result, ABC rejected every single one. In a moment of desperation laced with sarcasm, Spelling blurted out the most ridiculous idea he could think of just to needle the stubborn executives. "So what the hell do you want? An island where people can come and live out their wildest fantasies." He meant it as a bitter jab, a clear expression of irritation. But strangely enough, Brandon Stoddard, then head of ABC, lit up and exclaimed, "Yes, I like that." And just like that, an iconic television series was greenlit in the most unexpected way possible. But the origin story of the island has yet another twist. Leonard Goldberg later told a completely different version. He claimed he was looking out the window and jokingly said he'd love to be stranded on a deserted island with the beautiful cast of Charlie's Angels. Whether Spelling was venting his anger or Goldberg was daydreaming about swimsuits, the outcome was the same: a massive hit drawing more than 20 million viewers every week. Sometimes the wrong decisions made in a boardroom end up creating the most enduring magic on screen. 14. The battle for the white suit. Once the concept was set, the next big question was who was worthy of playing Mr. Roarke, the all-powerful master of the island. ABC wanted to aim high, pushing for prestige names like the legendary Orson Welles or acclaimed director John Huston. They wanted Oscar-level gravitas. Aaron Spelling, however, knew that would spell disaster. Welles was infamous for being difficult and combative on set, while Huston was battling severe emphysema. And it's crucial to remember that Fantasy Island was not a high art film chasing awards. It was a relentless television machine producing up to 24 episodes per season. None of those giants could withstand that pace. Spelling stood firmly by his choice, Ricardo Montalbán. His reasoning was bluntly practical. He looks great in a white suit, and he shows up on time. In other words, Spelling needed a professional actor, not a temperamental king. Just imagine Orson Welles, overweight, irritable, forced to smile every week and say, "Smiles, everyone smiles." It would have been a catastrophe. In the end, Spelling's persistence paid off. Montalbán not only delivered effortless elegance, but turned the white suit into a timeless symbol, proving that in television, the most talented choice is not always the most suitable one. 13. Hervé Villechaize, the great little man and his Parisian legacy. Most viewers remember Tattoo only for his small stature and his iconic shout, "De plan," whenever the aircraft arrived. But if you think Hervé Villechaize was merely a supporting actor hired to emphasize Mr. Roarke's imposing presence, you're profoundly mistaken. Before coming to Hollywood, Hervé was already a star in an entirely different world, the elite fine art scene of Paris. Born with dwarfism, Hervé endured bullying and isolation, but painting became his weapon against the world. He studied at the École des Beaux-Arts, the legendary institution that produced artists like Monet and Cézanne. And here's the astonishing part: at just 18 years old, Hervé became the youngest artist in history to have his work exhibited at a Paris museum. His paintings were anything but cheap entertainment. They were bold, vibrant, and deeply expressive. Even Greta Garbo, famously reclusive, graciously accepted one of his paintings as a gift. So the next time you see Tattoo running up the bell tower, look closely into his eyes. You're not watching an unskilled performer. You're seeing a master artist, a man who conquered the French cultural elite before donning a tiny tuxedo to entertain American audiences. 12. From a 007 villain to the legs of a trash can monster. There's another surprising truth about Hervé Villechaize that few people know. Before becoming the face of the island, his resume was so varied it would make any A-list actor tip their hat. In the early 1970s, just to survive in Hollywood, Hervé accepted every strange job that came his way. One of them, playing the legs of Oscar the Grouch on Sesame Street. Yes, you read that correctly. While Carol Spinney provided the voice and operated the upper body of the grumpy trash can monster, Hervé was the one inside the furry green suit performing the walking scenes. The contrast was surreal. At the same time, audiences could see him as a dangerous henchman in the James Bond film The Man with the Golden Gun, and as a pair of furry legs teaching children the alphabet on television. Hervé's career was truly a rollercoaster one that allowed him to embody the strangest roles imaginable while maintaining absolute professionalism throughout. 11. The shocking family tree of the Seaplane. The Scan 30 seaplane that appears at the start of every episode was far more than a simple prop. It carried a backstory dramatic enough to fill an entire detective novel. Few people know that this aircraft once belonged to Richard Bach, the author of the classic Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Before that, it had spent 16 years as a rejected outcast in France due to mechanical failures until it was shipped to the United States, revived with a new engine, and reborn as the vehicle that carried guests to the island of their dreams. But the real twist comes at the end of its story. After the studio lights went dark and the series concluded, this iconic plane embarked on a far darker journey. In the mid-1980s, it was seized by the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics during a federal drug smuggling crackdown. From transporting a philosophically minded writer to serving fantasies on national television and finally becoming entangled in narcotics crime, the plane lived a life even more dramatic than that of Mr. Roarke's guests. 10. Michelle Pfeiffer's golden ticket and a beginning in a supermarket. Before becoming the seductive Catwoman or earning multiple Oscar nominations, Michelle Pfeiffer was just a 22-year-old woman desperately searching for a break in Hollywood. Fantasy Island was the saviour that changed her life forever. On January 17, 1981, Pfeiffer appeared in the episode The Artist and the Lady, her first official acting role and the one that earned her a SAG-Card Screen Actors Guild pure gold for any aspiring actor. Just 3 years earlier, she had been seen scanning groceries at a Vons supermarket or entering beauty pageants simply to catch the attention of talent scouts. Her role as Deborah Dare on the island not only freed her from life as a supermarket cashier, but also became the stepping stone that placed her alongside major stars. Looking back at the image of that innocent young woman leaving the island, few could have imagined they were witnessing the birth of a future cinematic legend. 9. The fight to protect Tattoo. After the early episodes of Fantasy Island achieved impressive ratings, ABC executives began offering suggestions driven by commercial instincts. They were satisfied with the scripts, they loved Montalbán's elegance, but they wanted Hervé Villechaize gone. Their reasoning was painfully shallow. They proposed replacing Tattoo with a young, attractive woman who would stand beside Mr. Roarke serving drinks in order to boost sexual appeal during prime time. What they didn't expect was to slam headfirst into a steel wall named Aaron Spelling. Spelling and his partner, Leonard Goldberg, responded with a firm shake of the head. No way. Spelling saw what the network executives could not, the magical contrast between the tall, composed Montalbán and the small, energetic Hervé. That balance was the soul of the show. When ABC continued to apply pressure, Spelling issued an ultimatum. If you fire Hervé, you lose Goldberg and me as well. ABC ultimately backed down. Thanks to that unwavering stance, the catchphrase "Seaplane" had the chance to become a pop culture phenomenon instead of being tossed aside in pursuit of fleeting superficial glamour. 8. Corinthian leather, the most elegant marketing con in history. If you grew up in the 1970s, Ricardo Montalbán's deep, commanding voice is likely etched into your memory. Beyond the island, he appeared in Chrysler Cordoba, commercials extolling the virtues of soft Corinthian leather as if it had been woven by the gods of ancient Greece. His deliberate phrasing made audiences believe it was a rare, supremely luxurious material, and it worked so well that Corinthian leather became a benchmark of elegance at the time. But here's the truth that may leave you stunned. Corinthian leather never existed. The term was entirely a creation of an advertising agency designed to inflate the car's perceived value. The leather didn't come from any prestigious region of Greece. It was produced in a modest factory in Newark, New Jersey, the same upholstery leather used by mass-market brands like Ford and Chevy. Montalbán himself later admitted on David Letterman's show that it was a wonderfully written piece of advertising copy that meant absolutely nothing. It turns out that Mr. Roarke had been selling sweet illusions to the public through automobiles long before he ever did so on his magical island. 7. My Dinner with Hervé, a belated promise and long overdue recognition. Hervé Villechaize's real-life ending was a painfully sombre note. For decades after his death in 1993, the media remembered him only as an odd little man wrapped in tabloid scandals. But in 2018, HBO released My Dinner with Hervé, forcing the world to reassess him. The film is based on a real meeting between Hervé and journalist Sasha Gervasi just 1 week before the actor took his own life. Instead of a flippant interview about the guy who yells Deplan Gervasi encountered a mind that was sharp, brutally honest, and weighed down by deep, unresolved pain. The project was rejected by studios for 15 years, dismissed as having no commercial potential. It was only when Peter Dinklage, the star of Game of Thrones, used his influence to push it forward that Hervé's story finally reached the screen. Dinklage delivered a powerful portrayal, fully capturing a profoundly complex man from a childhood scarred by abuse during Nazi-occupied Paris, to the chronic pain that tore through his body every single day. The film does not turn Hervé into a pitiable victim or a cruel caricature. Instead, it presents him as a true artist who fought until his final breath. It is a tribute, a form of redemption Hervé deserved long ago, an honest look at a life lived without regret. 6. The legendary minicar. One of the most iconic images of Fantasy Island is Tattoo zipping around in his tiny vehicle, racing through scenes with frantic comic urgency. But there's a secret the production quietly kept for years. It wasn't a specially built prop at all. In reality, it was Hervé Villechaize's personal vehicle. A custom-modded minicar with a fiberglass body, a distinctive red-striped canopy, and an engine borrowed from a lawnmower. Because of his small stature, getting around the sprawling sets was difficult. So Hervé often drove this car himself to reach his marks on time, sometimes at speeds risky enough to make the crew nervous. Rather than banning it, the production team recognised its charm and exclaimed, "That's perfect! Put it in the show!" Just like that, his personal ride became an inseparable part of Tattoo's character. After leaving the series, Hervé kept the car, and it later appeared at television memorabilia auctions as a testament to the era's spontaneous creativity. 5. The collapse of an empire. When Tattoo left, the magic disappeared. By 1983, the island's glow was beginning to crack from within. Relations between Hervé and the producers grew extremely tense. The breaking point came with the introduction of a new assistant character, Julie, which made Hervé feel sidelined. He bitterly told the press, "Suddenly, I just say hello a few times and then disappear." His pride as a major star wounded Hervé, even refused to take joint promotional photos, and ultimately made a risky demand equal pay with lead actor Ricardo Montalbán. The result was a shock. He was fired immediately. Tattoo was replaced by Lawrence, a British assistant standing a towering 6 feet 2 inches tall. Instead of a frantic figure racing up the bell tower shouting "Seaplane," Lawrence merely pressed an electronic button to ring the bell with aristocratic restraint. The change was like replacing a rock star with a hotel receptionist. Ratings collapsed, and the series limped on for just one more season before being cancelled. The true magic of the island vanished the moment the great little man Tattoo walked away. 4. The hidden ordeal beneath the white suit. Throughout all 7 seasons, Ricardo Montalbán appeared as the embodiment of effortless elegance, a pristine white suit, perfectly pressed, calm and composed under the blazing Hawaiian sun. But behind that cool exterior was a level of endurance few ever understood. To keep the suit wrinkle-free under the intense studio lights, the costume designers lined it with thick layers of nylon. The result? That elegant suit was essentially a portable steam room. During 12-hour shooting days in tropical heat, Montalbán silently endured being drenched in sweat inside the costume, yet he never complained. With the discipline of a consummate professional, he maintained his serene expression and commanding smile before the camera. The next time you see Mr. Roarke looking impeccably refined on screen, remember that beneath the white fabric he was roasting like a Thanksgiving turkey in an oven, all in the name of perfection for the audience. 3. An island that exists everywhere and nowhere at all. In the series, Fantasy Island is a mysterious location absent from any map, completely cut off from the outside world. In real life, however, the island was a clever Hollywood illusion, stitched together through skillful editing. Did you know that the main building with the legendary bell tower where Tattoo shouted every week was not actually in Hawaii at all? It was the Queen Anne cottage located inside a botanical garden in Arcadia, California. Even the shot of the seaplane landing in the lagoon was a trick. The water there was far too shallow for a real landing, so a crane was used to lower the aircraft into place. To deceive the audience's eye, the production seamlessly intercuts stunning aerial footage from the Nepali coast and Wailua Falls on Kauai, Hawaii, into the opening sequence. As a result, each week, viewers were taken on a visual journey, first shown the real Hawaii, then abruptly cut to a studio in Burbank or a garden in Southern California for the story itself. Mr. Roarke's island was in truth a paradise patched together from 3 different locations, an entity that never truly existed. And perhaps it is precisely this unreality that made Fantasy Island more authentically fantasy than ever. 2. The Fallen Angel Theory, the secret behind Mr. Roarke's gaze. For all 7 seasons, audiences asked the same question. Who is Mr. Roarke, really? A wizard? A god? Or a billionaire capable of manipulating reality itself? He claims to have known Helen of Troy, speaks of centuries past, as if he lived through them, and wields seemingly limitless supernatural power. While the scripts never provided a definitive answer, actor Ricardo Montalbán constructed a far darker backstory for himself to fuel his performance. Montalbán believed Roarke was a fallen angel. In his interpretation, the island's master bore a cardinal sin of heaven pride. This, he felt, explained Roarke's aloofness, his quiet sense of superiority, and his commanding presence when confronting true demons on the show. To Montalbán, the island was not a paradise, but a form of purgatory created for Roarke himself. By helping guests cleanse their souls through harsh moral lessons, Roarke was also atoning for his own sins, hoping one day to be allowed back into heaven. Viewed through this lens, Roarke's smile becomes more than mere hospitality. It is the bitter understanding of a being who has lived too long and seen too much. 1. The reboot curse. The harshest truth about Fantasy Island is this: every attempt to revive it has failed spectacularly. Hollywood has tried no fewer than 3 times. In 1998, they reimagined Roarke as a darker figure failure. In 2020, Blumhouse turned it into a horror film, earning just 9% on Rotten Tomatoes. Into 2021, Fox attempted a more modern sequel series, and it too was cancelled after only 2 seasons. Why can such a brilliant concept not succeed in the modern era? The answer is simple. The original Fantasy Island was the convergence of elements that cannot be replicated. Montalbán's unrepeatable elegance, Villechaize's singular energy, and the gentle escapism of the 1970s. It was a cultural moment, one in which audiences needed soft moral lessons after exhausting work weeks. You cannot remake a memory, just as you cannot bottle a lightning strike after it has hit the ground. Some things are best left to rest in the perfection of the past. Fantasy Island does not need a reboot. It did its job perfectly once, and that is more than enough for a legend. And so, nearly half a century later, the waves of Fantasy Island have stopped crashing onto the shore, but the lessons about ambition, sacrifice, and human nature left behind by Mr. Roarke remain as relevant as ever. Together, we have peeled back the layers of secrecy from the impulsive birth of an offhand rant of an idea to the suffering beneath the immaculate white suit to the colourful yet tragic life of the gifted artist Hervé Villechaize. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the secret files of Fantasy Island. If you remember any other classic catchphrases from Tattoo, or have a special memory connected to the show, share it in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next shocking chapter in our cinematic case files.